Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Speech. And as I said just before we got started, it seems like we've started the class and then stopped it and then started it again and stopped it. And last week, I thought on Monday we would miss Wednesday, and we did. So Monday's class wound up being aired a couple times. And for those of you at home who are watching this, and we know there's a couple of people out there and enjoying this as entertainment and others as information, education, or maybe you're just seeing your family member in here and you like that. These are recorded and then they are re-aired at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So they're also posted on YouTube if you want to check it out a little bit later on. We have a couple speeches to make up today, so I just want to see who's here and try and get some sort of status of what's going on. Haley is still out. I believe she has some issues going on. And Kennedy did yours already last week, right? And Athena did her practice last week. Texas, you did your practice one. Cheyenne practiced, and she wrote me in where she is today. Tyler?
I've already done mine.
Yeah, I was thinking you did yours. So we got yours. Chloe. I haven't seen Chloe in a while. Anybody know her? What happened to her? Okay, Chloe, if you're out there watching, let me know what's up. And Laura is going to go today. And Juliana is here. You ready to go today?
Yeah.
Awesome. We have two speeches today then for you. Carolyn, don't see her out here today. Aiden, I know where he is today. He texted me. Granger's back there. You did yours already. Corey. Where's Corey? Haven't heard back from her. Okay, so we're missing hers. Matt already went. Veda already went. Caitlin is back there. She already went. And Ryan, you still have to do your practice one, right? So you're going to go today?
Can I not go today?
You could not, but we're out of practice time.
Okay.
So, after today, that's it. So we're making up a couple that we didn't do last week, and we need to move on to the finals. So you'll just have to have your final one as the one that's going to be yours. Okay? So we'll do that. All right. With that, do you need a couple minutes to get things together?
Are we doing practice or are we doing
The practice one today.
Oh, I have my final one.
Well, but you're going to practice it once, then we'll tell you how you did, okay? So call it your practice one. Yeah, Laura, you come on up here and we'll get yours going. And let me get a little critique sheet ready to go for you. Okay, so you're going to go right here. Let's see if that's tall enough for you. Okay? All right, you ready back there, fellas?
Okay. Mine is on why I choose to shop small businesses online. Imagine a world where dollars are spent directly supporting someone's dream rather than filling pockets of giant corporations. Did you know that small businesses certainly nearly two-thirds of oh gosh. Oh, goodness. I guess two-thirds of jobs, yet many struggle against large retailers. Shopping online has become part of our daily lives, but where we choose to spend our money makes a huge difference. Instead of turning to big corporations, I prefer to shop with small online businesses who offer personalized products and a chance to support passionate entrepreneurs. I've made, I made a conscious effort to support small business over the years through experiments. I have seen the impact my purchases have made. Oh, God. Some of my favorite online small businesses include Enchanted Strings, Baker's Wholesales, and Castro's Creations. And, oh, sorry. There are three reasons why I've chosen to support online businesses. Because supporting real people in communication or communities, finding unique, high-quality products, encouraging I can't even say the word. Sorry. Sustainable business. Okay. When you buy from a small business, you're just not making a purchase. You're helping someone pursue their dreams. Unlike big corporations, where profits go to executives and shareholders, small businesses reinvest theirs in the community. I love shopping with Castro Creations, where I know my purchases support passionate entrepreneurs crafting unique handmade items, things kind of personal and connective in something you won't find with other large retailers. Sorry. I don't know where I'm at. Sorry. Many small businesses prioritize substantial in. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. Sorry, my page is all mixed up.
Ask us for any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Sorry.
What's the favorite thing that you've bought from one of these small businesses?
I've bought this cup from Castro Creations, and this one bought from Enchanted Strings. And then I also shop with a soap company. It's called Team Patty, My Mermaid Treasures. And they make their own soaps, and she focuses on special needs. She supports, I guess, special needs and stuff.
All right, here's what I want to say about all that. What you just did for us just now was 100 times better than you trying to make your way through all that text.
Yes.
So what we want you to do is come on and talk to us.
Okay.
Right? Talk to us. You don't have to read it
Look,
word for word, whatever, because the more you practice a speech, the more comfortable you get with it. Mm-hmm. And so you're really struggling just with the text. So we want to get away from the text.
Okay.
Come up here and talk to us. It's better to have an intro quote, one stat, 3 bullet points, questions, and thank you on one card than it is to have 5 pages full of text that you're
trying to
searching and
through.
looking
Yes.
through and what do I do next? And as soon as you make one mistake, you're self-conscious about it. But once you started talking to us about these projects or these things that you've purchased up here, your whole delivery changed. You smiled, you're talking to us, you're enthusiastic about these objects. So what I want you to do for the next one, the final one, is channel that enthusiasm and your good personality into talking to us excitedly about this thing that you really like, which is supporting a small business or supporting an online small business. All right? But otherwise, I think you're going to be all right. You just need to practice a little bit more and then just talk more than read to us.
Okay.
All right? Let's give her a hand. Hey, there's pressure up there. You're on TV. Okay, and you're gonna go next? Yeah. Good. You're all right.
Okay. Today I'll be talking about float therapy and therapeutic practices that involves floating in a sensory deprivation tank filled with warm salt water. Sorry, my heart rate's super high. As someone who has personally experienced float therapy, I can share the positive effects that it can have on your mind and clearing everything. What is float therapy and how does it work? Float therapy involves floating in a tank filled with warm water and a high concentration of Epsom salt, which allows the body to float effortlessly. The tanks are soundproof and lightproof, creating environmental free of sensory distractions. The mental health benefits of float therapy. Research has shown that the float therapy can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression by removing external stimuli and allows the mind to enter the state of deep relaxation, which can reduce cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. The physical health benefits of float therapy. The high salt concentration in the water floating will make it easy for you to float without worrying about tipping over or getting in your face. You're just floating. It relieves physical tension and muscle pain. Many people use float therapy to ease chronic pain, including back pain and joint pain. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed, consider float therapy. There's 2 locations here in Tulsa and one at St. Francis, the Laureate Brain Institute. That's what I got for right now. You have any questions? It's not scary at all.
I don't really have any questions, but you were going really fast. That was the thing that I noted.
Yeah, my heart rate's racing.
So, and tell us about your heart so everybody knows what's going on, like why you have to check your heart rate.
Yeah, so my heart is like, the heart rate is usually 90 to 100 is kind of normal. Mine right now is like 130. And even, I take medicine, but sometimes it doesn't go down the way I want it. So it makes me anxious. And I get really shaky and like tunnel vision sometimes.
Huh. Well, what I want to say just on your answer on that, and that's why I like to ask a question at the end, just the way you were talking to us right now is how you want to be talking to us.
Yeah.
Once you get into your text and you start reading it, you're going really fast, and you want to be able to slow down on some of these things, to be able to let us absorb it. This is a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
And I think as a result of that, you could have a little better attention getter at the very beginning, something that is kind of a question that's more related to, have you ever thought about floating in water for your personal well-being or something like that? You immediately started by just saying, today I'm going to tell you about float therapy, and then you just got off into it. Mm-hmm. So when you start a talk, you want to have something that sort of piques our interest and lets us know this is something that we want to pay attention to. Your volume is okay, but you're reading so quickly, everything's just flying by. So on your final, let's slow down, emphasize things a little bit more. And I know with your heart rate, sometimes you get excited and it may be hard to slow down.
Yeah.
But that's the time to take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, then keep on moving. I thought it was well organized. You have good experience and credibility to talk on this issue. I thought you had good eye contact with me. You were looking at me a lot when you looked up, and maybe over there just a little bit, but you want to look around the crowd a little bit more. Okay. Now, how about a visual?
I have pictures of it of when I was there, but I don't know how to like.
Well, if we have a picture, we can use that little document camera up there, so I'll emphasize that again.
Okay, I can print that out.
Yes, and these visuals will be even more emphasized when we do our process analysis, which is coming up. Okay. But aside from that, I think that you just need to slow down a little bit, give us a little better opening, and talk to us a little bit more than read to us.
Okay.
All right? And I think you're going to be all right. Okay, let's give her a hand. Okay. Sure, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't even have.
Okay. Can't make it up? All right. What are you going to do?
The benefits of exercise.
Benefits of exercise, okay. So, put those down. Okay, Juliana and Laura have those. All right, I wanted you to have a short speech to watch. What are we, 12:15? We're in good shape. By the end of the class, we're going to make sure, we're going to know who's going to go on Wednesday for your final. So we'll either start at a certain point. I think we started halfway through the list last time. And so the final would come up Wednesday and then next Monday. So we'll talk about that here in a minute, see who's here or who might need another day or whatever. Before we do that, I want to go to this TED Talk. Let's go to the computer screen. Danilo, thank you. And the gentleman that's doing a talk here is in your textbook. So I know a lot of you don't get the textbook, and that's okay, but here he is right here in the front, chapter 1. He's an Oklahoma person. But I want you to see his talk because of A, the subject matter that he brings up, the way he introduces it, the way he gets everything started, what kind of visual he uses, and the impact that that visual has on us. So with that, let's let it roll.
An exasperated father asked his son's high school principal what career his son should consider in the future. Now, his son was described by many of his teachers as lazy, distracted, and that he couldn't remember anything. So the principal replied to the father, and he said, "It doesn't matter what he does, he will never amount to anything." That father's name was Herman, and that student who wouldn't amount to anything, that was his son, Albert Einstein. Now, before you and I start thinking poorly of that principal from 1895, we have to admit something. We've all been that principal. We unintentionally overlook a kid's raw and unrefined talent because that very talent tends to first bubble to the surface as an annoyance. And as a dad, I'm guilty of this myself 100%. My son will be like, "Hey dad, do you want to play Legos?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just a minute." And then he goes and sets a 60-second timer and like stands there staring at me the entire time. I'm glad you find his persistence amusing. I find it annoying. But here's my question. What if a kid's most annoying trait is actually their biggest talent in disguise? Meaning, what if a kid's greatest asset first presents itself as a giant pain in your asset? And if that is true, how do we not make the same mistake as Einstein's principal and unintentionally overlook genius simply because it first says hello as an annoyance? Well, over the last 40 years, the Gallup Research Organization has conducted more than 2 million interviews with successful people. And an interesting commonality emerged amongst these interviews. They found that successful people identify and refine their talents so that their talents become their strengths. Now, good for those people, but the question is, then how does a kid move from annoying trait to talent to strength to success? Well, I'm going to argue it's because that kid has at least one caring adult in their life who does the following, who redirects the annoyance and cultivates the talent. Lonnie's mother was excellent at this. Lonnie was meddlesome and mischievous, always getting into things. As a kid, he almost burned down his family's home because he attempted to cook rocket fuel on the stove. As you do. Lonnie's mother, bless her, she didn't lose her cool as you might think. She had the patience or the wherewithal or the blood alcohol level to see past this. Notice that her son had a scientific curiosity. She redirected him, said, "Hey, that's good, let's get you a hot plate. Why don't you take this outside somewhere more safe?" Lonnie Johnson holds more than 80 patents and is the inventor of the national treasure, the Super Soaker. Which is, amazingly, approaching $1 billion in sales. And with Lonnie's cut of those proceeds, he founded his own research firm, which works on inventions related to clean energy. Now, Nancy had a teacher who did this for her. Nancy, as a kid, was described as loud, opinionated, overzealous. She once hijacked the microphone at a school assembly in order to advertise this new student club that she was starting. A student club which sought to convince world leaders to participate in nuclear disarmament. Not surprisingly, no random high school kid showed up to that club. But a teacher took notice of this. that Nancy was a leader, albeit a bit overzealous. Taught Nancy, hey, here's how you get people on board with your ideas, how you recruit people towards your ideas. Nancy Lublin went on to recruit thousands of volunteers for the Crisis Text Line, which provides 24/7 crisis intervention for young people who are deeply distressed and even suicidal. They've processed more than 28 million text messages and saved countless lives. And then there's Mrs. Wilhite. She had this kid in her class. Loud, constantly disrupting, constantly talking, making everything a joke, the class clown kid. One day, Mrs. Wilhite pulls him aside. Says, hey, you should sign up for speech and debate. Because I don't know if you ever thought about this, but I think you could be a gifted communicator. And I will never forget when Mrs. Wilhite said those words to me. And you are listening to me speak today because she did. She didn't get annoyed by me, though she had every right to be. I was incredibly immature and sophomoric as a kid in her Spanish class. I would do annoying things like I would ask her, hey, Mrs. Wilhite, how do you say the phrase, I would earn in Spanish? Knowing full well this would force her to say aloud, yo gonorrhea. Gracias. Yet, despite my finely tuned immaturity, she looked past it. She redirected the annoyance, and she cultivated the talent. You see, every kid needs one caring adult, like Mrs. Wilhite, in their life. An adult to be patient where others might be pestered. So when that kid in your life inevitably annoys you, let's be honest, likely in the next 24 hours, because they're constantly getting into stuff, or they're argumentative, or they're annoying, take a deep breath and consider in that moment that you too might just have your very own genius sitting right in front of you. Thank you very much.
Okay, good one.
As a kid,
And I have one more we're going to look at. It's like 3 minutes long after this. Okay, so come back to me and we'll hold on to that for a second. But let's take a look at that speech and what he did, how he got it going. He came right out and immediately started telling a story. So he didn't say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and this talk is about so-and-so. He came out and started telling us the story of Albert Einstein. And then also, he was loud. He was talking to us. He didn't read anything. Obviously, he's a professional speaker, so he has these things memorized. He's used to going around and talking to people. He doesn't need that. But look at the emphasis you can have when you're not tied to text. One of the things I was reading about this weekend is the human body's power zone, which is right in here. It's basically the torso. And when you use your hands, you want to stay in that power zone. And you noticed he was doing a really good job of that. He was either using one hand or he was using two hands for emphasis. One time he looked at his watch like this, but he was always moving his hands. So we want to keep that in mind while we're up here. Sure, we have the podium in front of us, we have our text in front of us, but to be a good speaker, we want to be a little more animated. Also, he set up his talk with a question. What if a child's most annoying trait is actually their greatest strength? Or what if our most annoying trait is our greatest strength? You know, there's an old phrase that goes something like, we know what we are good at, we know what we're not so good at. And so when we know we're not so good at something, that ourselves telling us, if we want to get better at that thing, we need to work on it. We know what our weaknesses are and what our strengths are. But he set up that question, and then he immediately introduced just one fact from Gallup research, where he said all these successful people were interviewed, and what one thing did they have in common? that they had a caring adult in their life that told them they can do it, or that thing that's annoying everybody else, that actually is a positive asset and something you can use for your strength. And then he used a few examples. He used the scientist, he used the woman who created the text line, and then he used himself and talked about how he became a public speaker. And throughout that, he wasn't afraid to throw in a little bit of humor. So he made a few jokes here and there about the assets, about the blood alcohol content of Lonnie's mom, humorously using Spanish. And those were ways to lighten up what it could sometimes be a heavy topic. I was thinking about my own advisor in high school would not let me get out of typing. Because when I went to typing, it was all girls in there, except one other guy who became my best friend. So I wouldn't have met my best friend had I not, in high school, gone to this typing class. But I went right back down to the advisor's office, and I said, I don't want to be in there. And she goes, you need to know how to type. And I said, well, she said, when you get to college. And I said, well, my mom is a secretary. She knows how to type. She said, honey, you're not going to be taking your mom to college with you. So you're staying in typing. Okay, so I went back in typing. And back then, what's now called keyboarding, you had to use manual typewriters that had no letters on the keys. They were blank. All you had was a chart up on the wall that told you where the letters were on the keys. And then you had the thing that you were learning to touch type from. Touch typing means looking at a document and typing without looking at it. And then you all learn on your home row, you know there's a little raised spot on the J and a little raised spot on the F. And that's so you know that's where your index fingers go, right? So once they're there, then everything operates from those positions. Well, had I not done that, I would not have had the career that I've had. I would not have the 828-page book that I wrote. I wouldn't have the 300-page dissertation that I wrote. I wouldn't have the multiple other things that I've written that have been published all over. And a lot of that was facilitated by me being able to type quickly. And so that high school advisor made all the difference in the world to me. And so the encouragement from me is that each one of you can make a difference in somebody's life. But you can also, at this stage of your lives, make a difference in your own life and work on the things that you need to focus on. And I think these kinds of lessons are important for us to take a look at, especially someone like Josh Shipp. There's one other talk here, and I think I want to do this one too. It's only 3 minutes. I think we can get this in before we close out today. So let's go back to our computer screen. We're good here, but there we go. Okay, let this one roll, just 3 minutes.
Kid, I mastered the art of getting kicked out of foster homes. And the fact of the matter is I trusted no one. And looking back, I guess how could I? From the time my parents left me, to the time another foster kid raped me, to the time I was bullied so bad, I tried to kill myself with a bottle of pills. So I'm sitting in the van, in the driveway of this next home, preparing to meet Rodney and Christine from Yukon, Oklahoma. He looks in my eyes and says, son, you can keep causing problems, you can keep trying to mess up, you can keep pushing us away, you can keep trying to get us to kick you out of here, but you've got to get it through your thick head, son. We don't see you as a problem. We see you as an opportunity. You see, every kid is one caring adult away from being a success story. March 2015, Harvard's National Scientific Council on the Developing Child released this study saying, and I quote, every child who winds up doing well has had at least one stable and committed relationship with a supportive adult. My friend and mentor, Reggie Joyner from Atlanta, taught me to think about it this way. In this jar are 936 marbles. Each one of these marbles represents a single week from the birth of a kid until that kid turns 18 years old. You know, a 16-year-old, you got 104 marbles remaining. Right here, we are looking at time. In fact, you're looking at all the time or all of the weeks you have left to influence this kid, or this kid before they turn 18 and begin making critical life decisions without your presence. What matters isn't how much time you have left with a particular kid that you care about. What matters is what you do with that time left. I mean, consider how many weeks Rodney had left when he bailed me out of jail. "26. I was 6 months away from graduating high school. 26 weeks to get through my thick head, my bitterness, my anger, my distrust of adults, to get me to finally accept help. You see, it's not about how much time you have left with that kid you're thinking of. What matters is what we do with that time. If every kid truly is one caring adult, one Rodney away from being a success story, then the challenge is this. The difference between a statistic and a success story is you.
All right, same guy
When I started drinking
And I like to
warm
play
water
those.
to help me lose weight,
in that sequence. And the reason why is because the first one gives you some insight into his speaking style, what he's talking about, and we're able to analyze it from that point of view. But the second one, we learn more about who he is and where he comes from and what shaped him as a person. And it's always important to know that I don't know all y'all, and you don't know me. I don't know what you've all been through in your life, and you don't know what I've been through in my life. But when we relay a personal issue, it can convey your position and trustworthiness and listenability a little bit more. That's why credibility is so important. That's why I ask all of you on your speeches to tell me why you're talking about what you're talking about. Why is buying online from small retailers important to you? Why is, I was thinking, I went to Habitat for Humanity last week on a snow day. I was able to get over there and I thought of Texas and I was like, oh, she needs to go to Habitat and check these out. I found a receiver for my stereo that somebody had given up from NASA, the National Aeronautics Space Administration. It still had the NASA government tag on it. It was back in the appliance area, so I grabbed that one. Okay, well anyway, back to what we're supposed to be talking about, which is the speech that we just saw. Same guy. But now we know more about him. We know that he grew up in a troubled environment. We know that he's a victim of sexual assault. We know that he was a constant problem in the foster environments he was in. And then he finally runs into a couple that's not gonna consider him a problem, but consider him an opportunity. And that's a really good philosophical way to look at things. You know, bad things are gonna happen to us. They happen all the time. Close people to us die. That's the first harsh one. And then things perhaps happen to us that are psychologically or physically torturous. And we have to learn to deal with those. Are they problems or opportunities? Really depends on your mindset. And I think that watching a good speech like that can give you some insight into how a little personal connection can go a long way. One story can tell your audience a lot about you and give you some deeper insight, give the audience deeper insight into what you're talking about. But notice his format was essentially the same. He started with a story. Everybody knows who he is. They went to see him talk. He started talking about, that early story that he got going on with regard to where he came from and his background and everything, what his main theme is. Same theme in both. And when we say something's theme, what do we mean? Like you go see a movie, what was that movie about? Was it about a coming of age? Was it about some societal issue? Was it about romantic challenges that people have in contemporary society? That's the theme. So what is your talk's theme? Well, you're all setting us up for that by telling us what it's about, but his theme in both of those was that one person can make a difference in somebody else's life. And then he had the really powerful visual of the marbles. I'm not a math guy. If he'd put some math equations up on the screen about how many months or weeks you have from birth to age 18, it would not have had the same resonance for me personally as the jars of marbles. Here's how many marbles you get, 1 per week from 1 to 18. But from age 16 to 18, you're down to 1 little jar. And then you think about that in your own life. How many marbles do you have, period? Well, nobody knows exactly, how many we have, but you got to think in terms of reality. And most of us, have an average lifespan. So you start to think about those kind of things. I only have this many marbles. Well, what do I want to do with this marble? What's going to happen with this week? What am I going to do today? Maybe I just need a nap. And sometimes some doctors say naps are better than exercise. Ryan, I'd be curious to see what you have to say about that. Talk about the importance of exercise. A daily nap is equally as important as getting your 10,000 steps in. And it's important to have all these different perspectives, but that's what those visuals did. That's what the marbles did for us. Gave us a strong perspective. And then he said there's a very thin line between being a statistic and being a success. And that is you have the opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life, as opposed to them winding up just being another number in a column. Was a famous song by the old band The Police. I don't want to be I don't want to play a part of a statistic in a government chart, I think is how the line goes. I don't want to just be another number. You want to have something that I do that's unique and memorable, at least in my time. How many of you know your great-great-grandparents' names, like right now?
How many grades?
2. It's tricky, right? Great-great-parent. I mean, that's, your how many times back that? You got your mom and dad, you got your grandparents, you got their parents, you got their parents. Okay, well, those people lived really full lives. They provided life to you. That's why you're here today. But we don't remember their names.
I do.
Okay, so you do. 1 out of, everybody. So, what are we doing here and how are we going to spend our time here and what kind of mark do we want to make or do we need to make a mark? Some people don't want to. We just want to stay in our comfort zones, go along peacefully, do our thing, have our kids, raise our family, do our work, get to the end, have a nice end of sunset life, hopefully, and then trail out and let the family take care of it. That's one way to go. Others, and typically I find college students want to make a mark. You want to do something to help society or help your community or help your family or help your church or help your state, whatever it is. And that's why I emphasize that this is an important class and always will be. As I've talked about it before, that it goes all the way back to the Greeks, that they felt it was really important as part of your education that you learn how to communicate and learn how to arrange your speech for effective communication. And what we're adding on to that are, what are your strengths? What do you do best? And I say everybody is a good speaker when they're comfortable. If you're talking among your friends about things that you know about, you're animated, you're smiling, you're enjoying yourself, you're bouncing things back and forth. But sometimes we get in here in the formal environment with our text and we get stuck to it as opposed to talking. And I think it's really important to do that. Now, we don't really do debate in here other than between y'all and me, or between each other when subjects come up that are going to be significantly challenging, like in the persuasive talks. So we have our finals to do next of this one, the informative speech, and then what's next is a process analysis, where you're going to teach us how to do something that you can do within 5 minutes. After that comes the persuasive speech, where you have to be able to argue a significant point and try and persuade us. And I'm looking forward to that. I really am. Personalizing your ideas. Before I go one step further, I don't want to get caught up in something and not figure out who's doing what on Wednesday. So, if we do what we did, we just start in the middle again, and we go with our finalists. And that would be Carolyn, who's not here, and Aiden, who's not here, and Granger. You ready to go on Wednesday?
Can be.
Okay. And then Corey, still not here. And Matt? Ready to go? Okay, good. Veda, ready to go. Caitlin, back there. And Ryan, you'll be set for Wednesday. So that'll be that one. Okay, so I guess I should send Carolyn an email so she knows she's going to go open up. Now, does anybody else want to go on Wednesday? Volunteers? Okay, well, we'll go with that amount and get through those, and then we'll do the remainder next Monday and Wednesday if we have to. So personalizing your ideas is really important. And I want you to think about that throughout. When you do your process analysis, you're going to personalize. But I think it's important for you to bring in things that are important to you that you can talk about a lot without having to refer to a lot of text. In the speech that we saw, Josh Shipp, I think that's his name, he popped out a couple facts in both. He just used one fact in both, a Gallup poll, and used that to substantiate his talk. So you don't have to kill us with facts, but just one that's a good substantiated fact can help support your talk. Also, notice how he got going. He just started talking, telling his story. So we want more of that when you come back for your final next week. What did we learn over the weekend? Matt, what did you learn over the weekend?
I guess how to drive in the ice.
How to drive in the ice, important, right? That's a good one. Texas, what did you learn over the weekend?
I learned how to completely change tire by myself.
You changed a tire by yourself?
Yeah.
All right.
I hit a piece of ice.
Oh, you slid out and hit something?
No, I guess I hit it when I was driving, and I parked for a while, and it just kind of flapped
Right.
for a while.
Okay, so you were able to, and the cold air helps them deflate too. Kaylin, what'd you learn this weekend?
I learned how to weld again.
How to weld?
I was reinforced by my mom.
Okay. And what did you weld?
I welded a little bird pole for my friend's mom. Her little bird thing that she sticks up in the ground. It like has a little bird feeder on it. It broke, and she was
Okay.
like, "Oh, I know Katie has like a welding machine." So I did that this weekend. I
All right.
forgot, and I learned again.
Interesting. Granger, what'd you learn this weekend?
I didn't learn anything. I sat on FaceTime with my dog
Your
for
dog?
like an hour.
And your dog in New Zealand?
Yeah, he doesn't really understand how it works.
Oh, but he can hear you. He just doesn't.
He can hear me, but he doesn't really. He just gets a bit freaked out by the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an idiot. That's what I learned.
Well, you're learning a little about human-dog communications over the internet, I suppose. How about you, Ryan? What'd you learn?
The importance of bundling up in the cold.
Bundling up. Layers. That's what they always tell us, right? What's that?
Got a little too cold for my liking.
Oh, a little too cold. That minus 23 wasn't to your liking last week, huh? Tyler, how about you?
Oh, I didn't do much this weekend.
What would you learn? You read something?
Yeah, I
Learn-
mean, in the news, I
Mhm.
was really caught off guard with what was happening in the Congo
Okay.
about like all the Christians that were getting like massacred and stuff
Mm-hmm.
from the ISIS affiliated groups.
Yeah, I saw that story. Yeah. Harsh story. Beta?
I learned how to metalsmith.
How to metalsmith?
Yes.
All right, so working with small pieces of metal, like jewelry type?
Yeah, like a small piece of copper.
Okay,
I'm metalsmith. I took a class in Tahlequah,
okay.
and I just made like a little round piece of copper. But it's every week, so I'll be going back to do more.
Okay, so that's going to evolve over time. Maybe that'll be your process analysis for us. Maybe. Interesting. Kennedy,
I didn't do much.
but what'd you
Well, I guess I
learn?
learned that shampoo can freeze.
Shampoo can freeze. Okay.
Because I got in the shower and my shampoo was frozen.
Okay. In your house?
Yes.
Okay. So it must have been cold in that part of your house.
Yeah, I
The
tried to
bathtub.
warm up. It was frozen.
Okay, so what do you do to avoid that in the future?
Maybe not leave the bottle on the floor.
I guess.
Shower.
Okay, so shampoo freezes. So that's good news. Laura?
I learned that not to put really hot water on a window.
Did it break? Oh, you cracked it?
My car?
It wasn't was it your car or your house?
The house.
The house. Oh, well, it's a good lesson to learn, I suppose. Juliana, what do you say?
I learned how to transfer a 300-pound patient to another bed.
A 300-pound patient by yourself?
50. No, with one other person, but just two people.
Wow.
They were just as big as they were.
So how do you do that?
We had to blow them up underneath and transfer them, but it was really, really, really hard.
Wow.
I got on top of a bed.
Really? To move them?
Yeah.
Well, God bless healthcare workers. Say that, because we're all going to be there one of these days. Well, let's see what I learned this weekend. I learned I was reading about speaking in this power zone. That's the first time I've ever seen that before, that your hands are in this power zone when you're talking. I learned the difference between being smug and being content in correctness. To be smug is to go, ha, told you so. I knew it was going to work out that way. As opposed to silently being content in one's correctness. You don't have to tell people they're wrong. Just enjoy the fact that you're right and roll along. And so that's the way I've been going on that one. Of course, I do follow the news a lot like Tyler does. I read a lot. Of course, I read about politics. I learned a new political point of view from a New Republic article that Republicans are considered dads and Democrats are considered moms. And this has been going on since the 60s. Why? Because dads are money and security, and moms are health, food, and nature. And so when Republicans tend to be in power, dad's in power. And when Democrats are in power, mom's in power, and neither one of them like it when the other one is in power. And so there's lots of daddy talk going on right now, if you've seen the quotes, daddy's home and that sort of thing. And it's just kind of hilarious to me all the way around. But I learned that this weekend. I also, not to go all the way down the political thing, I'll save that if we have any time left. I've got 1:51 left. Empathy. I was studying empathy this weekend. And of course, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another person, putting oneself in their situation. And there are a few different kinds of empathy. One is cognitive empathy. It's understanding someone else's thoughts and emotions intellectually. It's all just right here. I get it. I get where you're coming from. Then there's emotional empathy, feeling what another person is feeling on an emotional level. This often comes from your so-called bestie, somebody that you can share every little thing with, you can go cry to, and they'll not judge you or any of that kind of thing. And then there's compassionate empathy. Not just understanding and feeling, but taking action when necessary. This dovetails us all the way back to the speaker that we watched today, that you as one person can make a difference in somebody's life if you take some action. So empathy is an essential skill in relationships, in leadership, and communication, because it fosters connections and mutual understanding. So I meditated on that this weekend as well. With that, I also continue to support my idea that it's good to take a nap every now and then, especially when it's 20 degrees outside. So took a couple of good naps, winter naps we call them. All right, so with that, we're going to come back on Wednesday, and we are going to hear some final speeches from those who are scheduled, and then we'll keep on moving as the class is back underway. So we'll see you Wednesday.